why high achieving men build unbelievable lifestyles, unbelievable businesses, but sometimes they lose their family on the back end.
It's not worth it. It's not worth a dollar amount. It's not worth any of it.
I was a broke 23-year-old and my apartment was hilarious. It had a bed in it, had a TV, no stand, and I think I had like one chair. So I don't know what the heck she saw in me anyway. Your kids are watching. Show them how to love through loving their mom. That's as simple as it gets. Welcome to the Lighthouse Brotherhood podcast. We're excited to have you guys here today. And Ruslan and I are going to be discussing a major topic that I think is very relevant in today's world. And that topic is why high achieving men build unbelievable lifestyles, unbelievable businesses, but sometimes they lose their family on the back end. And we're super excited because we're going to share some stories. We're going to share some frameworks. And we're going to be prepared in this. We will challenge you as a man. And we're going to give you some quick wins as well so that you don't lose your family as you're scaling up your life and building a legacy. And so with that, I want to pass over the mic over to Ruslan here for a second. And the reason for that, Ruslan, is because, again, I'm sure some folks who have been listening now, they know that we've been blessed. We've both been high achievers. And obviously in other episodes, we'll share our failures as well, because I think it's important so that it's not been like all sunshine and rainbows along the way. But in this case specifically, we bonded over the fact that we're both family men, right? But we also want to win in life and we want to have great marriages and in that regard. So in your situation, right, you have 4 kids, you've been married for 15 years, right? Why is not losing your family so important to you? And maybe a little bit of insight into, the keys that you see in that topic.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, it's why it's important to me. It's my biggest why. It's my reason to get up. It's everything for me. So I feel like when even starting any business, and years ago, I always said it, we can build it to whatever size, we can do whatever we want with it. But if we lose our family in the in-betweens of everything, it's not worth it. It's not worth a dollar amount. It's not worth any of it. So for me, that's my biggest reason. And just always constantly reminding myself is, hey, this is what happened in the beginning. Don't get lost in the business side of it. Family is what it's at. Because like we said, right, relationships is where it's at. And I think that's your biggest relationship you'll have in life. And most important decision you'll ever make is who your family is, who your wife is. So that's my end.
Oh, yeah, man. Well, you nailed it. And I'm sure a lot of you guys were watching this, right? You're watching this or listening to this because you are winning or you're trying to win, right? You're an up and coming high achiever. Maybe you're listening to this and you're not married or don't have kids yet, but you're trying to set yourself up so that you don't make some of the same mistakes that people before you have. Right. We see it all the time. I've seen it in my networks. Divorce rates among high achievers are pretty high. The fact that, you win, you make millions, you build these amazing companies and your kids don't want to spend time with you, when you're older. I have multiple friends whose dads I grew up pretty poor and my dad is absolutely amazing. So don't take that in a weird way. He just, we'll talk about his story in another day, but I have a couple buddies whose dads were like CEOs of major corporations. We're talking billion-dollar corporations, but they were on the road 6 days a week and they were Saturday dads, right, for a couple hours. And there's no judgment to that, but also note that was never at all what my goal was coming into being with my family. And along the way, I want everyone on here to be aware that we're not going to give you the exact black or white system that you need for your family because everyone's slightly different. Everyone has different scenarios. Everyone has different needs. There's also different seasons in life. But just note that, from what we're going to cover here today that we're excited about is why we see it happening and then how to actually make sure it doesn't happen to you, right? And if you're already, unfortunately, there, you can actually figure it out and you can typically recover it as well. So with that being said, though, I think one of the keys here is to understand that you, Ruslan, have a young family, right? 9, 7, 4, and 2. We're going to be 2, little Gabe. And then I have a 9 and 7 year old, right? And so we're busy. You're running multiple companies. I'm running multiple companies. There's different seasons in businesses, right? Sometimes when you're in startup mode, you do have to sit down with your family and say, "Hey guys, I love you, but for the next year, it's going to be a little bit busy." And so we'll talk about stuff like that as we go. But you built a business over the last 3 years from zero to, an 8-figure plus company. Like, what was the conversations like in the beginning with your wife and your children, when you launched these new companies, and you were maybe you still are working 80 hours a week because you're running multiple companies, but what are those conversations that you have with, with Karina and the kids to make sure that they know that dad loves them, and then you still have that, you're not losing your family along the way?
Yeah. I mean, life goes fast, right? So 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, me and Karina are sitting and we're going to be starting this business, and just having the conversations up front and honest conversations. Hey, I'm not sure what it's going to take, but I know it's going to take work. If in the first 3 years, I'm going to give it all I got, and then we can reevaluate, right? And it's a negotiation at the end of the day, right? Both people have to be okay with it. And I just remember having those, and I think kind of like in anything else, right? Having a business plan, but also having a framework on what's going to be happening, and the family has to be aligned on it, is the biggest thing that I'm blessed that we did, because it's what set the roadmap for the next couple of years. And then while it goes, life changes. You go back, you renegotiate, you plan out the year, you make sure you include everything that's important to you, and then you fill in the gaps. So for us, that was our biggest aha moment of like, hey, if I could go back now with hindsight, is just having that conversation and being open about it. Hey, it's gonna suck. It's gonna be long days. It's gonna be this, but let's figure out why we're doing this and if we need to do this. And a lot of it was, 4 years ago going back. I mean, I'm doing good. Everything's fine, but I'm getting this depression on the back end of it. So it's like, hey, when talking about, hey, let's start a business, yes, the money's great. Yes, the changing people's lives is great. Everything's great. But, as selfish as it might sound, it's like, hey, I need this. I need to go and do this. And just talking to your wife, at least for me, it was my wife. And it was the most open conversation. And the stars aligned. It made sense. And, for us, I guess our cheat code now is planning out our year, and then weekend trips. Like I said, we travel quite a bit. We have a house in Arizona, and just getting away with the kids. But when I'm away, I still work, but not when I'm with the kids. I try to the best that I can, keep that phone away, hop on in the mornings, hop on in the evenings. Like I got it from Matt, right? Work sessions. You just hop in, you hop out, and you get it done. So that was, I would probably say, in a quick way, those are way of starting it, and then a constant conversation while it's going, while things are changing, of how can we adjust. And both people have to be 100% honest in here. That was our biggest thing. And yeah, it worked for us, and it's still working. Matt said, my hours are still long right now, but when we get away, we get away. And we get away, I think, more than I ever thought was possible while running multiple businesses. I thought it was impossible to leave. So that's kind of my end. I know, Matt, you probably have a similar story, or you have something different, but I haven't even heard it, so I would love to hear it, because I think they're gonna align similar, but maybe they won't. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think one, we can end the podcast right now. You just dropped literally multiple gold nuggets in there. One, you said this in the beginning, your spouse is by far your most important person you ever decide upon. And here's the scary part, is no one talks about that. No one trains men to pick and I'm not saying we have to be like crazy selective, but we both got lucky in the sense. And I would say, let me take the word luck back. I'll say God gave us our wives, and we're very proud of that. But also note that the person you marry is by far the number one thing you have to figure out, because as an entrepreneur, right, if your wife is not aligned with your vision, and they're not aligned as a family unit, like you said, and I know Karina relatively well, and she's a freaking godsend to you, Ruslan. And And obviously you guys are on the exact same page. And that's what I love when I hang out with you guys and we're together, is because you basically, I can see it in her eyes that, one, she respects and loves you, but two, she's part of your team and you guys are co-creating your life together, which is important. Men, is your wife has to feel like a co-creator, or else I promise you, you're going to lose that relationship along the way. And I think a lot of high achieving men, and I'll definitely get into some stories here, but I want to kind of summarize because I think this is important, is that when you see the co-creation, I've actually made the opposite mistake earlier in my career, and I'll explain that here in a second. But I was not co-creating with my wife. I was just I wanted to win as Matt Balducci, and I just wanted to win. But we weren't on the same page. And here's the truth, is that if you're not co-creating, this is scary to say this, but your wife can actually be an anchor to you and hold you back, or she can push you forward. And there's a concept that I use called the rubber band effect. It's going to be in my upcoming book in October. And I learned this from a mentor in the past. And it's not just with your wife, but I'm going to talk about this in your relationship. It's with everybody you connect with. Everyone kind of, once you become friends or you attach yourself to someone, there's a rubber band. Again, hence the Lighthouse Brotherhood. You want to actually attach yourself to men that are, their standards are your goals, because guess what's going to happen? The rubber band's going to pull you forward. But with your wife specifically, you don't necessarily need to force her. You do not need to push her. But what you do need to do is make sure that you're aligned, because if you're not, right, and I'll use a quick example. Let's say that you're trying to lose weight, right, and your wife isn't on board. She could actually sabotage it, or you can sabotage her. And you see that all the time on accident, not because they don't love you, not because you're not in love, but because they're not in alignment or co-creating. But that's the nugget I took from what you just said, Ruslan. And I don't know if you can move your camera or not, but I know on your wall right there, you have your entire year planned out, vacations, trips, everything. And we both, there you go. Perfect. Heck yeah. So that's the big ass calendar, right? Jesse Itzler's calendar, I think. So we both, my business partner in my other company, but I look at him as a mentor, just like Ruslan does. His name's Alex Duda. And honestly, a lot of what I do now has been stolen from him. You know, one of the things that he stole it from Dan Martell, and then we stole it from Alex. But, along the way is one preloaded year, which is what Ruslan has on his wall, is making sure that you're in alignment with your entire year in advance, right? And obviously things change and shift and so on. But when are you going to take trips? When are you going to spend time with the family? When are you going to be focusing on business? And what Ruslan is describing is very simple, is it's okay as a high achiever sometimes to say, hey guys, for the next 4 days, I have to be tunnel vision. You're not going to see me much. I'm going to be working, right? But we have this awesome trip coming up. And when I'm on that trip, you're going to have my undivided attention every day for X amount of time. And I love you guys, right? And you can make those shifts and trades. And I think it's really important. But all right, to get off my little soapbox here. So when I was young, I started my first business when I was 19. I met my wife when I was 23. Frankly, and I hope she's okay with me sharing this, we started dating. And I was an entrepreneur through and through. I had 2 companies at the time. And unfortunately, both of them failed. And they were failing while I was building them. It's because I was young and trying to grow and, win at a fast rate. I was traveling a lot. We were dating, and she was okay with all of that. She was okay with my ambition, but I was so focused on the result there that I made bad choices in terms of our relationship. Like I canceled dates last minute and all that. So she ended up breaking up with me. So my wife broke up with me, and I was like, okay. She was actually on a trip with her family in France, and her text messages got short, and I still remember this to this day. And I was like, uh-oh, what's going on? And then she came back, and we were at my apartment, which, by the way, I was a broke 23-year-old, and my apartment was hilarious. It had a bed in it. It had a TV, no stand, and I think I had like 1 chair. So I don't know what the heck she saw in me anyway, but it was funny. So she breaks up with me, and then, this will age me a little bit, but 3 months later, I email her and I say, hey, I miss you, like boom, boom, boom. And it's a long email. And I say, you want to grab sushi? And for whatever reason, God, again, she said yes. And so we got back together. And then after that, we knew pretty quickly, hey, this is probably going to be a long-term deal. And, I think it was like 6 months later, I proposed, or maybe it was a year later I proposed, and then we got married 2 years after that. But the reason I share that story is even in the beginning of our relationship, once we got back together, I had a business. I was living in Chicago, and I got an opportunity to take over a franchise there was zero revenue out in the East Coast. And I remember sitting with Jackie, and we were dating. We weren't married yet. And I was about to propose to her, and I said, listen, I promise you that we're going to win. We're going to live an unbelievable life. It's going to be glorious. It's going to be great. But for these next few years, I'm going to have to work my butt off. And will you move with me to the East Coast? And so she agreed. By the way, we were engaged. We weren't even married. And she left basically her network. And obviously, with social media and all that, but she left her network. She came with me. I built that business up to just around 3 million, sold it. That's a whole nother day. I lost a bunch of money after that. But within those 5 years when I built that company, one of the things that I remember now, not during, but I remember asking my wife, I said, babe, before we had kids, what did we do on the weekends? She goes, you worked. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Like I was working 7 days a week, 80 to 100 hours a week. I was growing my company from 0 to 3 million. I didn't have great mentors at the time, so I was just busting my butt, and everything was about money. Everything was about growth. But prior to that, the reason she was willing to fight through that with me is we did sit down and we discussed it, and I told her what was going to happen, and it did. Now, it doesn't always work that way, but the reason I share this story is that was a horrible way of running my family. I didn't have kids at the time, but even for my wife, like we did not do everything we do now, which is what Ruslan is describing. We did not pre-plan anything. Everything was off a whim. I remember my wife is phenomenal. Her name's Jackie. But here's the truth. There were times where she would kind of make me feel bad, and it's not her fault. And I don't, honey, if you're watching this or listening to this, you're amazing. But she would make me feel bad. But that was because I did not set proper expectations, and we did not get in alignment with where we were headed. And I remember she'd be like, hey, we haven't had a date night in a while. And and I'm an idiot at this time. I'm in my 20s. And I remember saying things like, well, babe, I gotta go work. I gotta go run these sales teams. I gotta go make sure that we're growing our revenue. Like, don't you want to take these awesome trips? Don't you want to have this amazing lifestyle? And if anybody's watching this and you're a Breaking Bad fan like I am, right? The cliche statement, and if this doesn't land, just move on through this podcast. But Walter White in that story, right? He basically, it's a crazier story. Obviously, if you watch it, he becomes a meth dealer. But throughout the entire episode, like the entire season, he says it probably 50 times when people, why do you continue doing it? Even after he became rich, he continued on. And this is, I think, the epitome outside of the meth, get rid of the drugs. Okay. But basically the epitome of a high achieving man is, I wrote it down. I wrote Breaking Bad on my notebook here, is he said it, I'm doing it for the family. Yeah. And at the end, and I don't want to ruin the series, it's been out forever, but at the end, he finally goes to his wife after he obviously, gets caught or whatever. And he tells her, honey, I was doing it for me. And that was the first time he ever admitted it. And I think that, right, Ruslan, you said this earlier, there was a time you guys were doing well. You were making a strong, positive 6-figure income. You had a house, your family would be taken care of, but you're like, I think I could do more. You went to Karina, you had that conversation, and you said, hey, like, I'm not fulfilled right now, and I need to do something about it. And guess what Karina probably did is she said, absolutely, honey, let's do it together. Let's co-create this life. And obviously it's worked out, and it's a beautiful story now, but you didn't know if it was going to work out, right? And that's the scary part. So in your case, and I can go on and on and on, and I can talk all day on this, but like, what are some of the key things that you and Karina do now, Ruslan? And I know a lot of this you probably just added in over the last couple of years, but like, how do you communicate with your wife? Because you're busy, dude. I know your situation. I know your story. I know your growth. I know how many businesses you have. I know that you're getting pulled in multiple directions. You have opportunities popping off all left and right. Like, how do you balance your relationship with Karina before we talk kids? Like, how do you balance that with your wife specifically? And what are the conversations you guys have on a regular basis that allow for you not to lose her along your success plan and your path?
Well, I mean, you touched on it. It's co-creating, right? I feel like before, me and Karina has always been on the same page, but I feel like right now is just, it's busier than ever, but we're stronger than ever. And I think the biggest thing is that co-creating is letting her know what's happening, her letting me know how it's making her feel, or roadblocks that she sees, roadblocks that I see, and just talking it through and being real about it, right? That things might change, but having that conversation open, and it's a constant conversation. I mean, things that we added to, I guess weather all of it. And at first it was to weather it. It's like, hey, we were remodeling our house, we were doing this, right, having kids, and during all of that, it's like, hey, how can we still be the family that we want to be, even all of these is happening? Because it too shall pass, right? And all of the things that happen in life, they pass, and then life continues. So for us, it's, we have recently we added, weekly date nights, and I don't want to say we're religious about them because we're not, but we are intentional about them. And it's one thing, it's a reset, and it's not, I mean, anyone that has, multiple kids or that's running businesses, it's not dinner. It's not going out. It's not a lot of those things. Sometimes it is, but a lot of times it's just at home. It's either takeout or leftovers. It's a bath. It's just sitting and hanging out. And I think that's the coolest thing that we do now, that it's no work, but it's the biggest thing that gives it to us is just being together and knowing that, hey, the week's busy, like Matt was saying, 4 days, 5 days I'm going to be gone, but Thursday we do Thursday nights. Hey, we're definitely going to be having the date night no matter what's going on. And it's, first you got to put all the kids to sleep, so it's a late night, and that's what happens. And then we do weekend trips, we do one-on-ones with the kids. We follow the, I mean, there's a ton of coaching out there, but we follow the family boardroom, and then Scott Donald's is quarterly dates with the kids, one-on-ones, 4 hours, no electronics. And the kids look forward to it, because the way before I felt, I would come home at 6 o'clock. We would have dinner every day, but I wasn't there. I was physically there, but I wasn't mentally there. And man, the kids are smart. I mean, they see through everything. If you guys think you don't, they see through everything. So right now, I see the kids less than I did before on a weekly basis, but I am more intentional with them. When I'm there, I'm there. The trips we take, like I said, we travel. I have no clue when I look at this calendar, and purple is my personal days. And sometimes when the year starts, guys were making fun of me of like, how when do you work? Do you ever work? And you look at it and you're like, I don't know if I do. But when you look at what happens, it's like, okay, yeah, as long as you plan it, it will happen, and being intentional about it. But like I said, for us, weekend trips, planning the year, and date nights are, I mean, it's the core to our relationship right now.
Freaking love it, man. Mike freaking drop, baby. So guys watching this and listening to this, like, simplicity here, right? What Ruslan just said, again, all the nuggets in there, right? And some of you guys are listening going, of course, I need to have a date night. What he just said is intentionality.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part, right? Is that, like he said, I don't know if anyone else can relate to this. I currently sometimes am there where I'm sitting at dinner with my family. I'm looking at my son in his eyes, but I'm thinking about the 6 other things that are going on. And, or worst case scenario, they say something to me and I don't hear it. So then I have to ask them to repeat themselves. And we can get deeper and deeper into both of these. But the number one takeaway that I just took from that is intentionality, right? And all the frameworks and everything that you can imagine is a weekly date night with the wife. Here's the deal, though. And I want to challenge the listeners right now. If you're watching this and you want to improve your marriage and you're a high achiever and you're not doing this, maybe it's not weekly, maybe it's twice a month. That's what Jackie and I do. And there's nothing wrong with however you set it up, right? But 2 things, she plans one and I plan one. right? And for some of you guys out there, when here's the truth, you look at your wife as an executive assistant, and you say, hey, we should do a date night, honey, every week, and then you expect her to go do all the legwork to do it. What if you took one time a month, and it doesn't have to be many hours, it could be 2-3 hours, which is what my date nights usually last, right, with my wife, and we really focus on intentionality. Like if we really want to do an activity together, but like Ruslan said, doesn't have to be elaborate. My wife's a huge coffee drinker. Sometimes we just go check out a new coffee shop and we just sit with each other and we talk and we see what's going on in their heads and their minds and all of that, right? And it's really, really cool. So I think Ruslan, again, powerful framework, but I want to challenge men out there right now, separate this, right? Wives and kids. And we're going to have future podcasts on both, like how to be a great husband and a father. But note, your relationship with your wife has to be intentional, especially when you're doing and running 100 miles an hour. And the reason men lose their wives, at least from what I've seen, right, is because they're not intentional. So they are just running 100 miles an hour, but their wife is at home, maybe with the kids, or maybe they're working too, or whatever the case is. And you're just two ships in the night, just going off and doing whatever you're doing, and you're separating every day. And there's never a time you come together and actually have intentionality and have intentional conversations and see how each other is doing and feeling. And again, you're a man listening. Feelings? What are you talking about? Yes. Okay. But cool. So just to kind of transition, you got something, Ruslan, before I transition?
Oh, I'm just saying, even though, like, again, right, I'm sitting here, I'm a student of this too, because you never stop learning. So I even wrote it down, and I mean, right, we do our weekly dates because they're at home, but I love what you said, right? Each one chooses the activity, chooses it, and plans it. Because it is true. Us men, we get lazy, right? And if it doesn't get planned for us, we think it's okay. We're going to go about the day like, dude, she's perfectly fine. And at the end of the day, right, we need to take action. We need to plan it. We need to choose it. We need to be intentional about it. So I just love that. So I had to write it down because I'm like, if I don't, I won't get intentional about it. So now it's getting added to my even to-do list. And actually, I'll reframe that. I don't even want it to be a to-do list. It's getting added to my cheat code, because that's what it is. If you guys think it's work and it's going to take 3 hours away, I'm telling you, it's a cheat code.
Freaking love it, dude. And just a segue before we even transition, I'm going to throw this in, and I didn't know if I wanted to or not. So Jackie, if you're listening, again, don't kill me. But this is how intentional we are. We have 2 young kids. We plan sex, right? And I know, and it, just so you guys are aware out there, we didn't do this all the time. And I don't know if any other men can relate to this. We have our needs, right? We have things that we need to do, but you can't just be like, hey, honey. And sometimes she's not feeling it, which we all know. But the reason that is because we're not intentional with it. So if we're thinking we're going to have these romantic rendezvous at night after your wife just put the kids down and you're done working and your brain's tired, like, it doesn't happen as much as you hope for, right? And then eventually, sometimes a week can go by, 2 weeks can go by, and you're like, shoot, we haven't done it, right? And again, I don't want to get too intense on this topic, but this is how you have this conversation with your wife: is you sit with her. If you have intentionality around everything else, right? I was scared to talk to Jackie about this at first, but then she agreed, and it has changed everything. And I'm not saying you're gonna, if you want to try it every night, good for you, man. But we try twice a week to schedule it in, and then that way we for sure every 3 days we get that physical touch. We are able to connect. We're able to come together, and it's not always at night, right? Sometimes it's in the morning, and you have to be intentional about it. And again, research has proven now, man, that morning is actually the best time because you're not exhausted and you can give each other your energy and that. But that's just a little side tangent. That's how intentional we've gotten over the last 2 years, and it's been amazing. And so just to kind of segue off this, one of the topics I want to bring up on here, Ruslan, and it's something that I'm really passionate about with our wives specifically, is as men, one of the challenges we have and why we're so big on the Lighthouse Brotherhood, okay, is you have to have people to go to outside of your wife. And if your wife is your only person you come to and you can vent to, you're going to destroy your marriage, because you do not want your wife to become your chief venting officer, right? I stole this from a mentor about 10 years ago and I've lived with it. I've been guilty of this many times where I come home and I'm stressed out of my mind. There's many things going on. I don't know if you can relate, Ruslan. And we just download it all on our wife. Like, man, this employee, I have to fire him. We had this client issue. The business, oh my goodness. And they think, by the way, that the businesses are collapsing. They think that things are horrible. And all of a sudden you're like, no. Oh yeah, by the way, we had our best month ever. We made the most profit. And she's like, what is going on? Like, have you ever experienced that, Ruslan, like with Karina?
No, it definitely. I mean, that's why I'm laughing. You know, a lot of times when we're talking about it, it's so nonchalant because it's our day to day, right? It's our thing that it's like, to me, it's on autopilot when it comes to some of these. But then when I actually think back and Karina's like listening, and she does an amazing job on it, even when it does happen. And then, like you said, I'm like, oh yeah, but our quarter, we did what we did 2 years ago, you know? And she's like, okay, so what's the issue? I'm like, oh, it's not an issue. It's just, you know, letting you know basically what it is. Cause if you know, sometimes she's like, hey, how's work? What's going on? What's new? And to her, it sounds like you said, right? It's the business is falling apart, but in reality, I ended with, oh yeah, good quarter. So we just had that. So that's why I'm laughing, because it's so related.
Yeah, I freaking love it, man. And again, I'm not saying guys don't share things, right? Like, I'm not saying don't be transparent, but if your wife is your only place to go, it can hurt your marriage. That's all I'm saying. And so that's why, again, find another man that maybe is ahead of you, get a mentor, join a men's group, create a men's group, whatever you got to do to make it happen. Again, that's why we built the Lighthouse Brotherhood, is so high achieving men could come together and their wives don't have to be their punching bag, basically. And when I say punching bag, obviously we're not hurting our wives, but what's happening is they desire stability. And all the things that Ruslan just mentioned earlier, which is scheduling date nights. And my wife and I do quarterly meetings where we actually treat it with an operating system. And those are a little bit bigger deals. We actually do go away. We go, and again, if you can't afford to do this, it's okay. But we'll take a trip, or we will go downtown Chicago. We'll get a hotel for the day. We'll plan an activity, like maybe we'll do couples massage, or we'll do some pickleball or something together. And then we spend 1 hour. That's it. At first, my wife hated this, by the way. She was like, what? We're going to do a business meeting? And I'm like, honey, this is a family meeting, right? And again, like Ruslan said, up on my bookshelf, you can't see up there, there's a great books out there. All of this, by the way, that Ruslan and I are talking about, we didn't create any of this. We're just looking at awesome people who have wrote books and have created frameworks, and then we're just implementing those frameworks. And but we do an activity, and for 60 minutes, my wife and I go through every single thing that's going on for that next quarter. Kids' activities, when we're gonna have sex, how is she doing? How can I show up differently? This is a really powerful question, men, that you can ask her. Right? Is what can I do differently, and how can I show up to make you feel more loved? Right? And you can add that in. And I asked that. It's very uncomfortable, but now it's become a cadence. We've done about 9 of these already. I think our 10th one is coming up here. So we've been doing them for a couple of years now. And first 2, she was like weirded about it, but now she looks forward to them. And she's telling all of her friends about these quarterly meetings, because when we leave them, we're aligned. We know where we're headed, and she knows what's going on financially. She knows what our trip plans are. We have a good game plan. Who's doing the pickups for the kids? Who's coaching what? Right? Hey, are you going to continue making dinner, honey, every night? Or do you want to do 2 days a week where we order out? Like, we're getting that specific. Okay. And again, we could put a framework later on, or if anyone has questions on that, comment below on this podcast, and we can see what we can do for you. But again, that's something that we've been doing. Weekly date nights or twice a month date nights, quarterly family meetings, to make sure. And all of this, by the way, is scheduled and intentional. And if your wife's against in the beginning, just tell her to listen to this podcast. But I promise you, women, if you're watching this, it will change everything, and it will make sure that you and your husband are in full alignment into the next 3 months. Don't do this. I see a lot of people fail in business. Ruslan knows this. We do things like L10 meetings or EOS, and we do all these structured things to make sure our teams are aligned to go in after these goals, and we don't do it with our families, right? And we do it now with our kids too. It's not as intense, it's not as crazy, but we want to make sure like where they headed, even though they're 9 and 7 in our case. But I think it's really, really good. But anything to add there, Ruslan, on that?
No, I think you touched on it. Like I said, I'm just sitting here and I'm a student, and I hope everyone else is. I'm listening to it, and even me planning out the year, we do business quarterlies, and I'm sitting here and Q1 ended. We did a Cabo trip here a week ago to celebrate our 15-year anniversary, but we didn't have a intentional quarterly meeting. We talked about it, we touched on it, we know what's happening in the next quarter, but even then, like I said, I hate the statement, treat your marriage like a business, but why do we put so much effort into the business, but we won't put it into our relationship? We won't put it into the most important thing. And I think that's my just last touch point is, be intentional with it, but don't treat your marriage like a business, but give it more time than what you should give it as much time as you do to the business, because then that's why it will grow. And I think relationships should grow. I don't want to be the couple that's, in our 50s and our 60s and wondering why the flame is gone. I want it to just get better and better. So yeah, that's the last thing I'll add on that.
Freaking love it, man. Oh, this is such a passion of mine, right? And the whole point of this, guys that are listening, is the family freaking unit, right?
Yeah.
Is there was attack on the family unit over the last decade plus, and I don't want to get political or in general on that, but just know that there was a lot going on trying to push the family unit apart, right? And we'll get in a later episode, the power of fathers and men specifically. Like the studies are coming back over and over again now, and it's insane, like how impactful dads are. And obviously moms and women that are listening, you're so impactful, but a husband and a wife together, right? Obviously from a godly standpoint, one yoke, right? Moving forward together is very, 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 very powerful. And the key to this is you might be married right now, but you're not one right now. Right. And how do you do that? You have intentionality, you come together, right? And yes, you want to have fun together. And yes, you want to, have sex. And yes, you want to do those things. But also note that you guys are building a life together. You are building a business. Your wife might be a stay-at-home mom, but she's the key. She's probably the most important key employee or key leader in your company, because she's impacting you, which in turn is then who's going into the business. And if this isn't good, sometimes that can impact your business too. If it's freaking powerful, as you know, Ruslan, you get to show up, you're peaceful, she's stable, she knows things are good, and you rock and roll. For the men that are watching that are high achievers and maybe you're in the startup mode and it's not stable, that's okay. But you need to have that honest conversation with your wife and make sure that everybody's on the same page, and just know that it will work out. So just to segue one more time on this, right? We talked a lot about our wives on here and having that relationship with a wife. We'll throw a couple nuggets about with your kids, but we'll do a whole nother episode on the kids side, because I think that is vitally important. But just note, men, just know this, is that your kids are watching. And the number one thing you can do for them, like so many men think, oh, I need to do all this stuff. Show them how to love through loving their mom. That's as simple as it gets. Show them how to love. Your boys that are going to be men eventually, they're going to duplicate how you loved on their mom, and they're going to look for that type of love if it's a healthy relationship. And nothing's perfect, by the way. But again, that they're going to look for that. Your daughters, guys, your daughters are going to look for men to love on them how you loved on them as a daughter, but also how they watched you love on their mother. And if you want to set them up for success with relationships, make sure that you love on their mom in front of them, like hugs, kisses. Jackie, again, I hope this isn't embarrassing for you, but butt taps. My kids are embarrassed by it, but I hit my wife's butt like 82 times. I don't know if other men can relate to it. She has a nice butt. I want to tap it, and it's really, really fun. But again, so to segue out of that, guys, for the kids specifically, here's the fun part. All the things that Ruslan just mentioned, all the frameworks, they correlate exactly. And you might be going, wow, guys, Weekly date nights, quarterly meetings with my wife, quarterly dates with my kids. I have 4 kids. You have 4 kids, Ruslan. I have 2. That means you have 4 dates that you got to do every quarter. Oh my goodness. Like, how am I going to handle this? Guys, you're a high achiever. How do you handle your business?
Yeah.
Just sit down and schedule it and be intentional with it. And I promise you, and Ruslan can attest to this, I promise you, your kids, I just told my daughter today, getting out of the car, transparently, we haven't been very intentional over the last 3 months because I've been crazy busy. And it hit me today. I said, hey, honey, we got to schedule our next date night. And if you would have saw her face light up because she loves them and she can't wait, she just freaking lit up and she's like, oh. And I let the kids actually help plan them and sometimes plan them. And I'm like, okay, I want you to start thinking about what you want to do. When you get home tonight, we're going to put it on the calendar. And you're going to laugh at this, men, that when we do this and we put it on the calendar, my daughter, she's only 7. So as all you guys know who have young kids, a lot of times they have no frame of time. Every day she'll ask me, hey, Dad, is it almost our daddy-daughter date? Even if it's 8 days away. And I'm like, honey, we got 8 more days. And she just gets so lit up about it. And you want to create memories with your kids. Like the toy you give them, the money you provide, they don't care about any of that. What they really care about is the experiences. And again, it's been proven that kids remember the trips you take and the experiences you have with them. They are not going to be like, oh, and don't get me wrong, they might be proud of you guys, but my kids aren't going to be like, oh, my dad ran a multi-million-dollar company. They're going to be like, hey, my dad was awesome. He loved on me. We had date nights. And I still remember this one date night that happened, right? And I'm getting passionate and overexcited here, but it's just, guys, you want the family unit, you want to win? Win in your marriage, win with your kids does not mean you have to sacrifice your growth of your business. You can work 80 to 100 hours a week. It just means you have to be intentional about it, and it's hard, but that means 30 minutes a day or whatever, one time a week, you set aside those hours. Guess what? You sacrifice a little sleep or whatever you got to do, which you're already doing anyway before your business. Do it for your family and your kids, and I promise you it's going to be freaking powerful. But anything else, Ruslan, you want to add to any of this as we kind of land the plane here?
No. I think you hit every part of it. And biggest thing is just be intentional and just plan it. Planning it does not make it less special. It acts like Matt just said, right? Your kids will light up when you ask them and you tell them to put on the calendar. They will light up. It's one of the coolest things that I started doing about a year and a half ago now. Intentionally quarterly dates, and like I said, they light up every single time. I have 2 boys, I have 2 girls. I don't go on with Gabe yet, he's too young, but with Michael, I don't like the term date, so right with my boys, so we go and hang out, right? And I mean, make it as what it works for you, but we go and hang out, and I'm telling you, it's awesome. You actually see what your kids have, these personalities that are already made, and it's just so cool when they're alone. You actually see who they are, and it was perfect.
Oh, I love this freaking topic, and I can't wait to do more episodes on both of these. And I know we just gave you a little teaser here, guys, today on this. We will absolutely be discussing more in depth about how to make sure you have a successful marriage. If we can at all, no judgment to anyone who's had a divorce. We do not judge anyone for that situation, but just know, if we can help you have a successful marriage and be able to grow together and keep the family unit strong, that's what we really want to do here. And if your kids can grow up and you can help them become winners and not just go out with all this trauma, but they know how to love, they know who they're looking for in their next significant other, and they're set up, that's why we're doing what we do. And this is it. And all we're doing, by the way, is we're taking knowledge that we went out and sought and we implemented and we structured. And now we're just saying the same thing that many other people are saying, but understand that if this is the first time you're hearing any of this, or maybe it's the second or third time, this is your wake-up call to do it. So I'm going to challenge you right now, okay? I'm going to challenge you with 2 different challenges, and I don't want you to do it all. I want you to pick one. Is if you want to have a better relationship with your kids. Very, very simple, and this is something I do in my future book coming out in October. It's going to be a little crash course. But I want you to, for 7 straight days, and I truly mean this, I want you to be religious about this, 7 days, which is a very short window. I want you to schedule in 30 minutes every single day that you're going to remove this thing right here. You're going to put it in a different room. You're going to be intentional with your family. You're going to have dinner, or you're going to just spend time with them. And if I would recommend, turn off the TV, turn off the video games, turn off any sort of social media, and just play a game. Just be present. Don't and let them tell you what you want to do. Hey, Dad, I want to go run around on the grass. Go do whatever they want with you for 30 minutes. And here's the truth: you're busy. You might have to shut down whatever you're doing for 30 minutes. You might need to call your team, send a voice memo, tell everybody, hey, from 6 o'clock to 6:30 on every night this week, I will not be answering anything, right? And I know this sounds crazy, but I've been there, guys. I'm somebody who's very quick to text and email, and I'm always on call, and it's a bad habit of mine. But when I do this, it's going to feel weird in the beginning. But what you're going to notice after 7 days of just doing this simple thing is, one, you're going to be closer to your kids. You're going to actually get more fulfillment yourself. And then when you do turn back on, you're going to be able to go back in and be fully present there as well. The worst thing you can be is where you're at work and you're building your business and you're guilty that you're not with your family. And then when you're with your family, you're guilty you're not building your business. And that's the worst possible place to be. How do you fix that? Just get intentional with your hours and your time. That's number one. Number two challenge, okay, is very simple. Take your wife. Actually, I'm going to go even simpler. I'm going to give you that. Take your wife on a date, okay, and plan it. But I'm going to go even simpler. For the next 7 days, pick a task around the house and do it without your wife asking you to do it. This is a hard one for me, man. I hate dishes. I hate cleaning. I hate all of it. But go do the dishes without her asking. The thing that's on the to-do list that she wanted you to do, by the way, you're going to laugh at this. My wife cleaned the gutters out on our house, and I hate it. I own a business. I could pay somebody to do it. But for whatever freaking reason, she likes me to go up there and do it. So when I go do it, you better believe it, it turns her on. So guys, for 7 days, do something every day and see how it affects the relationship. Don't tell her you're doing it. Just do it. And I promise you, just be prepared. It's going to be awesome. So those are the simple things. I'll give more in other episodes, but I'm not going to overwhelm you guys. 30 minutes with the kids. That's pretty easy. Schedule it in for 7 days. See how it affects you. See how it affects your business. My rec is after you do that, try to continue that cadence. With the wife, do something every day, even though it sucks. You might be exhausted coming home, but do it. Takes you 15 minutes. And I promise you after 7 days, she's going to notice. So, yeah. Ruslan, anything else you want to add before we hang up and let these guys get out of here and they go rock out and they improve their marriages and have awesome relationships with their kids?
No, just be intentional. That's all it is. I'm telling you, it's not rocket science.
All right, guys, have a good night and we will see you soon.